and the specific webinar is geared towards advisors, educators, and practitioners. This session is part of College Day hosted by the Silicon Valley Education Fund. We want to give a huge thank you to the San Jose Calso Consortium for collaborating on this week's financial aid workshops with Moneythink. We bet this isn't your first time with Zoom, but we'd still like to walk you through it for today's webinar. First, it will be recorded, so stay tuned for the recordings by next week, if not earlier. Second, we invite you to use the chat to give us any feedback and respond to any calls for responses we may put out there. Third, we may have a Q&A, and we'd like you to please put all questions there if you have a question. We don't want to lose your important questions in the chat, so the Q&A is the best place for it, and we'll save all the questions towards the end. Last, we're going to ask you a few polls, and we would love for your engagement. Let's start with the first one because we'd like to get to know our audience. So please take a brief moment to complete the poll that will pop up on your screen in just a moment. The question we're asking you is, how do you identify yourself? For example, do you identify as a student, parent, or administrator? And we'll give you just a few seconds. Okay, it looks like we may have some students and parents signed on, and that's cool. Just know that there will be a portion towards the end that we'll let you know when we get to that part. It may not be as relevant for you. We're super excited to see that you're here. Thank you to all the staff and non-teaching school district staff joining us. Give you another moment to share, again, your answer to the question. How do you identify yourself? Are you a student, parent, administrator, teacher, policymaker, other? All right, we'll go ahead and I think we have one more person. We'll go ahead and end the poll. So we're super excited again to have you all here. We have about a third of you are students, half of you are parents, and the rest of you are non-teaching staff or staff at community organizations. So thank you so much for joining us today. You are joining this evening John Tamrat, College Financial Coach, and myself, Mayor Curry, Director of Education Partnerships for Moneythink. At Moneythink, we believe that students make college plans a reality when they understand how to manage their financial aid. That's why we want to share with educators and advisors and students and families how college success planning begins with college affordability planning. Moneythink is an innovative nonprofit that helps students seeking financial aid achieve college success by supporting financial decision-making. Moneythink harnesses the power of people and technology to bring transparency to college costs so that all students and their families are equipped to invest in their futures. We do this by developing tools like Decided to empower students like you to invest in the future by building technology that clarifies college finances. More on that later. We partner with local nonprofits like Silicon Valley Education Fund and scholarship organizations like Richmond Promise to bring financial aid planning to your students, their families, and to educators like you who are their champions. So very important, as you learn more about financial aid, be sure you are clear about which aid is free, that you don't have to pay back, because that is what you want to get the most of. So what we want to talk to you about is where we are on the journey right now as we're talking to you on October 19th, 2020. So your student is here in their journey. They're applying to colleges and completing financial aid applications, hence College Week. After they complete these applications, our students will need to wait for their college acceptance letters and then their financial aid award letters to come in the mail, through their email, and their student portals. Now here in the green circles is where we're noting that as advisors, educators, practitioners, this is where you can really support students in ensuring they get all the information they need to make an informed college choice in the spring. You know, like we're spending this time right now to help them complete their college and financial aid applications, and what we want for them to have at the end of that is a college choice that is the right fit for them. So these are the two areas where we want to spend some time with you today. Students don't always track their letters, but it's critical that they collect all of the award letters for the colleges that accept them so that they can compare packages and figure out if the college is affordable for the family or not. And you're going to hear us use the word affordable quite a bit today. That said, this step happens to be very complex and challenges educators, students, and families alike. So why is this so complicated? Why do students and families struggle every year to talk about financial aid and affordability? Well, because the nation's $1.6 trillion in student debt is fueled by confusing and unclear pricing and college costs. A new report on student debt in the class of 2019 shares that more than 6 in 10 college seniors who graduated from public and private nonprofit colleges in 2019 had student loan debt, and they owed an average of just over $28,000. Now, financial aid awards are a huge part of the challenge. 143 unique terms are used just for the word loan. So that means sometimes families don't know when loans are being presented to them. They may not actually see the word loan in the award letter. 70% of letters group all aid together and don't explain the differences between grants and scholarships, loans, and work study. This is especially problematic since some of that money is available before students start school so they can start to pay their bills off right away, while money like work study isn't earned until later. So this problem of unclear award letters that are different from college to college has led students and families to navigate this process with limited guidance and on their own. The information that is hard to find is how affordable this college is for the student and his or her family. So what is an affordable college? At Moneythink, we consider a college affordable if the gap is less than $7,500 for that year. This means that a student will be able to cover this gap reasonably with a combination of loans, work, and family support if their gap is less than $7,500 in their first year. A student will be able to do this by taking no more than maybe about $5,500 in loans and are working 10 or less hours during the academic year. Now, research shows that approximately 30% of award letters include no costs. This means students see how much they are getting, like maybe they'll see an institutional grant of $20,000 and loans in $10,000, but then they don't have the expenses to compare that to. So what good is it to know that you're getting $20,000 in grants if you don't know what your gap is, which you can only calculate if you know the total cost of attendance? We consider a school with a gap between $7,500 and $11,500 somewhat affordable. These schools can still be an option. It just might mean needing more support from family, work, or taking out more in loans than the recommended $5,500, and potentially working 15 to 20 hours during the school year. We consider a school with a gap over $11,500 unaffordable at these schools. A student in this position will likely struggle to cover the college bill, even with family support, even working while in school, whether it's work study or a part-time job on and off campus, and taking more than the recommended amounts in loans. Taking large amounts of loans is risky due to having high monthly payments when paying back, risking defaulting on loans in the future. And we know that working over 20 plus hours a week can also be detrimental to student success in the classroom. So now that we know how important it is to look at the affordability of colleges that students apply to, the question your students and families will ask next is, then how do I pay for college? And that's where Decided comes in. Decided is a free tool your students can use to plan for college starting next month by helping students understand if the financial aid award packages are offered are affordable or not. Once students know how affordable the college is, they should also consider whether or not it meets other fit factors like diversity, graduation rate, distance from home, and possible earnings. I'd like to introduce my colleague, John, college financial coach at Moneythink, to introduce you to Decided.
Thanks, Mer. As we stated at the beginning of this webinar, our mission at Moneythink is to bring transparency to college costs so that all students are equipped to invest in their future. Our goal is to put the students in the driver's seat by equipping them with the information they needed to make a strong, well-informed decision. Decided encompasses our 10+ years of expertise in supporting students and families with financial literacy and college access work. We've combined our expertise with student-centered design to inform the creation and development of Decided, resulting in a tool that is student and family-centered and really takes the guesswork out of college affordability. Currently, students and families are making ill-informed enrollment decisions based on confusing data. Many advisors don't have the capacity to support students in understanding their award letters. Even for college access organizations that are out there supporting students with this, like many of those on the call today, it's very laborious and the support is not readily accessible to many students. Decided is reshaping the way the students can go about making enrollment decisions by providing key information needed in one place, therefore removing the stress and the uncertainty when we're making enrollment decisions. So Decided takes the guesswork out of affordability by using our optical character recognition and machine learning to transform confusing, very complex award letter images into a clear, consistent format. Our objective is to help students make a holistic college enrollment decision informed by the accurate understanding of their cost of their college options in order to increase the chance of students obtaining a bachelor's degree with a sustainable amount of debt. This can be attained by supporting students to 1, quickly and accurately understand their award letters, 2, supporting them in comparing the affordability of their options, therefore enabling an informed enrollment decision, and 3, helping students and families know the full cost of college and preparing to have a plan to pay for it. One of the most confusing parts of the award letters that students and families have stated to us over and over is understanding what is the actual bill that is essentially what they should expect to be responsible for. Well, let's walk through the use of the tool. So let's give an example of student and let's call her Alex. Once Alex uploads an award letter to a college on Decided, she'll be able to clearly see and understand what costs she'll be responsible for. Decided will automate that calculation of all the free money on her award letter, so any grants and scholarships will be applied to the cost of attendance at that school. Once the calculation is done, Alex will be able to move what is left to cover under a college bill for expenses due directly to the college, so the billable expenses. For any expenses not due, so unbillable for college, that will be reflected under the life budget. Those could be such things as personal expenses, travel, books, and supplies that sometimes students and families overlook. Decided demystifies the process that's cryptic by design. After Alex uploads her award letter to the app, she can immediately compare school options. The most pressing information like basic affordability is presented at first glance. Colors and thumbs ups and down markers help make sense of those costs. As Alex scrolls down, she has access to other relevant information about the school, like graduation rates, diversity, campus environment, or average salaries after graduation. By simplifying key aspects of college fit and providing all of these data points at their fingertips, students like Alex are empowered to move forward with confidence and optimism with their enrollment decisions. Research shows that 70% of college dropouts are linked to pressing financial concerns. A major factor to this number is due to students facing high, unexpected, or unplanned financial costs that lead to students needing to take out more in loans or ending up working too many hours while in college to cover these costs. As I've went over, some of these costs can be underestimating the life budget costs that we discussed that are not billable, as well as emergencies coming up that happen through no fault of the student or the family. So to combat and mitigate unexpected and these unplanned financial costs, Decided provides further supplementary support through our guides and recommendations on financially planning and how to effectively leverage the money that you can get from yourself, from family, work study, and or student loan as part of their financial plan to cover the cost for the upcoming school year. So if Alice or her parents has a question or wants to learn more, they can click on these guides to get helpful recommendations and to help them set up a plan for the full year. Now, as you advisors and educators support students with their financial aid planning journey, it's important to know how they can use outside scholarships, student loans, and work study as part of their financial planning for college. Here are some tips to consider about outside scholarship. If the student, let's say Alex, is rewarded a scholarship and the money will be given directly to her, then we recommend not reporting that to that college and instead treating it as cash to pay for her school expenses. If Alex has been awarded a scholarship and will be directly paid to the college she enrolls at, we recommend checking to make sure that college scholarship displacement policy, or reaching out with the financial aid office to find out clearly how that university will treat outside scholarships. So financial aid displacement is usually used to describe a situation where a student ends up receiving an award letter from a college and then tells the college they have won a private outside scholarship. Some colleges may respond to this by reducing the amount in grants awarded to the student by the size of the new scholarship. So for example, if the student won a $5,000 outside scholarship, the college then might go on and reduce $5,000 in their grant. Note that colleges can't subtract from the federal Pell Grant. That will remain intact regardless of scholarship winnings. So the good news for students is that 80% of schools won't cut into their grants for receiving outside scholarships. So pursuing these scholarships can still help reduce students' need to borrow money or having to work many more hours than they need to. If the college practices scholarship displacement, we highly recommend that students talk to their financial aid office to see if they can reduce the loan offered to them instead of the grant. Next, now, many of you know about loans already, but it's just do a quick refresher so that you understand how students are guided within Decided on loans. For a majority of students, going to college means needing to take out some amount of loans, especially for Pell eligible or low income or first gen students who will consider loan as an option. So it's important to know what source of loans for them to consider. So federal subsidized and unsubsidized loans are the top two options because they're very competitive interest rates, favorable terms, they have pretty good repayment options, and have the potential for loan forgiveness depending on the student's career and jobs after graduating. Subsidized is even better because the student won't have to pay any accrual interest until after they're done with their studies, 6 months after graduating, or they stop attending school 6 months after that. That's when it would kick in. So student loans can be a good investment when a student can make a well-informed decision. That means that if the student enrolls at a college that will serve and support them reaching their goal, then the loan that they take out can be a really good investment toward their future. However, if a student makes an uninformed choice about their college by rushing it, choosing what others tell them to go, or just by name recognition or popularity, it may not end up being a good investment if it ends up leading to more time spent completing their degree or ending up needing to complete their degree or not ending up completing their degree at all. Unfortunately, there's way too many students who do not attain their degree but still have to pay back their loans. Private loans are the most risky to take out to affording college. It is even more crucial then that a student is well prepared in making those choices and making sure those choices align with the future and goals and objectives they have, if they're going to be on the hook for that amount of money. Now, the last part we want to go over with will be work study. Students can sometimes get confused about work study and how it can be used as part of their financial planning for college. Work study are jobs that are designated to students who have completed the FAFSA application and demonstrate financial need to qualify for the federal work study program. The work study program is very popular and the funding available at each college actually will vary. With that in mind, the earlier the students submit their FAFSA, the better chance of qualifying and receiving work study in their award letter. Now, if our student Alex is offered work study in her award letter, we always recommend that she accepts them just like all the grants and scholarships offered. But here's the caveat. Remember, accepting work study on your award letter does not guarantee you these funds. These have to be earned by applying to a work study job and working to receive these funds. Note that even if a student qualifies for work study, he or she may not see it offered in their award letter. This is because those funds can run out at that college. So it's possible for a student like Alex to see work study on one award letter, but not on the other. Working while going to school is a great way to help students pay a portion of their college expense, but the key will always be making sure to not work so many hours that impact their success in the classroom. If Alex plans to work to help cover her costs, we recommend working between 10 to 15 hours a week. Working more than 20 hours a week can potentially have negative impact on her success in the classroom, as well as taking away vital opportunities like networking, study abroad, or internship placement that she may not be able to take advantage of due to working too many hours. Now, we've covered a lot, but I hope all of you found something useful within this. And I'll pass it back to Mer now so she can talk about the advisor tools for Decided.
Thanks so much, John. All right, since we do have some parents and students on the webinar at this point, if you'd like to jump off, you're more than welcome to, or you can stay with us. This piece is definitely for advisors, counselors, and college access practitioners. So we just had the chance to take a look at Decided, which is the student-facing web-based app. And that'll be available, again, it's a web-based app, so it doesn't require downloading, and it's available on computer, Chromebook, mobile app, tablet. That's the tool for students that students can use with their families. Now, we also have a tool for advisors. The advisor dashboard is something we wanted to share with you because it's one way that you can be partners with your student in their use of Decided, and a way for you to track all of your different students in your cohort or in your caseload that are using Decided and planning for college. So our advisor landing page on the Decided website will have information about the dashboard and the student-facing web app. To support you, we're going to have resources like videos, checklists, all of that to make it easy for organizations and advisors to integrate both Decided for students and the dashboard for advisors into already scheduled college and financial aid planning activities. We'll also have best practices to support planning for future academic years. From here, advisors can either sign up for an account or sign into their account or request one if they don't have one yet. We'll ask for a few more details than what you see here. For example, we'll want to know if you're working at a school, district, or in a college access program. My colleague John and I will respond to advisor inquiries to help you identify who the admin should be of your organization account, share resources, and offer tips to implement it with your students and staff. Now, there are two main account types. Either you're an admin that can create and manage other advisor and admin accounts. So as you see here, the three tabs, this is an admin who can manage advisors, students, and groups, or you're an advisor. Either way, if you're an admin or an advisor, you'll be able to manage students and groups and see those two tabs. The benefit of the advisor dashboard is you can see at a glance, as you see in this screenshot, whether your students are on Decided or not, how they're engaging with it, when was the last time they used it, and what groups they're in. From the same view, you can see whether, and then you also have the chance to drill down into your individual student accounts. When you select a student, you can see what they see. In this case, we see that Taryn has saved 4 colleges. She's uploaded 3 awards, and 2 of them are affordable. From the same view, we can see what she sees, whether or not they are affordable, somewhat affordable, or not affordable colleges. We can scroll down and compare side by side, as the student can, how the colleges match up on those critical factors that we talked about related to fit. So in addition to affordability, graduation rate, earnings, diversity, and campus environment. We decided students can track their 4-year colleges in one place, track their award letters as they get them, upload them for a real-time analysis, and compare their awards to make an informed choice. With the advisor dashboard, practitioners know which students are engaged on Decided, see the colleges they've added, can help track financial aid awards, and support follow-up to colleges if needed. And you'll be able to use that information to tell a current picture of how supported your students are at the colleges they're applying to and getting accepted to. So that's the advisor dashboard. Let's go ahead and start to close out so we can answer any questions that you have. So these are some takeaways and recommendations that we have specifically geared to advisors. But to start off, just because we know we do still have some students and parents on the line, you know, the first takeaway and recommendation for us is please complete the financial aid applications. You can't get any, it's going to be more difficult to get any of the financial aid that John has walked us through without actually completing your financial aid application. So whether that's the FAFSA or here in California, the California DREAM Act, if you qualify, you know, it's better to apply than not. It doesn't matter how much you make, just make sure that you apply, and the earlier, the better. So now for recommendations for advisors. So we encourage you to have your students use Decided after they complete their applications, or they could even actually use it to track where they're applying. So as they complete college applications, have students add their 4-year colleges to Decided. From Decided, then students can look at those colleges they added and keep informing themselves of the differences between the colleges. Sometimes students only look at this important information when they're building their match reach safety list or their college list. We want to encourage them to keep looking at this information and make sure that it is still in line with, again, their goals, just as John mentioned, still in line with the resources, you know. They can then use their college list on Decided to track financial aid award letters as they come in. So as you saw in that screenshot, I can see which ones had award letters and I can see which ones don't as a student. As an advisor, same thing. So we want to make sure our students collect their award letters. We're doing everything we can right now to help them complete their college and financial aid applications. The thing that holds all of that up to make sure that they make that decision later are the college acceptances for the financial aid award letters. So use Decided as a way to track that all of those award letters are coming in so that students can make an informed decision between all of their options. And then they can use the information in Decided to plan for their transition. They can plan transition in the spring, avoid summer melt, complete critical milestones to start college on time with less stress, because again, they have the information about the colleges as well as those helpful guides. So we also encourage you to get the advisor dashboard if you are going to have your students use Decided, because then you can use it to help support their decisions. Use the dashboard to track students as they get on Decided. If they haven't signed in, you can nudge them to use it, have them add colleges if they haven't added any, and encourage them to upload award letters when they start coming in, usually between February to April, and ideally before May 1. Help colleges, and then you can also help colleges build their student lists in the fall and use Decided to make sure they've received all of their expected award letters. I said that backwards. Help students build their college lists in the fall and use Decided to make sure they've received all their expected award letters. You can also use Decided with your students to help avoid hand calculations and manual entry into spreadsheets. There are tools out there that you can use to evaluate your financial aid award letters, but you really have to manually make sure that the information is there. And as we said before, sometimes the actual terms aren't used, like it's not identifying loans, and sometimes the information is not there, like the college costs themselves. So you can use Decided as one place to have that information. And lastly, you can use advisor dashboard data to help you support your plans for next year. The more that you know about the colleges your students are going to and how well they're supporting them with graduation rates, with their strong financial aid packages, the better you can support students planning in future years. Lastly, we encourage you don't need to do it alone. We Decided you can use the same guides your students read. So things are changing in each year, you know, with financial aid applications and such. Some of the rules change sometimes around, you know, scholarships. You know, we try to share as much tips as we can with students, and those tips will be available to you as well. So from there, I would like to now share a couple of frequently asked questions that come up just to get the ball rolling on questions. I do not yet see any questions in the Q&A or any questions in the chat, so now's a good time. Here are a few questions that you might be thinking about. So, you know, are students entering their actual award letters? No, they're not. So they're not typing anything. They're actually taking screenshots of their award letters. And there are step-by-step screens that will show them how to upload, show them what award letters look like, so they look for the right thing in their college portals or their emails. So that will all be available to them. How does Decided compare to what's out there? Well, the Moneythink advantage is that, you know, we really focus on this tool supporting Pell eligible students, and they're going to be able to have a lot of these indicators that help them to make a more informed decision. The tool is still useful for non-Pell eligible students as well. We deliver personalized and accurate college affordability matches, again, to the college and to the student-specific award letter. And then we are working on an API. So if that's of interest to you and you know what that means, go ahead and sign up for our listserv. I won't go into the technical details here. And Decided to secure for our students. You'll be able to have access to our privacy policy, but we are very much keen on, it's one of our principles to protect student data. All right, so let me go ahead and go back to the questions and see, are there any questions? And I'm going to go ahead and mute myself. And John, while we're waiting for any questions to come in, are there any ideas or thoughts that came to mind as we were talking?
Yeah, I can just add on to it. I think we pointed it out, but again, if you're an advisor who's supporting students or working in an organization that does that work, we understand that directly because that's what we actually got all of our expertise from. And as a college financial coach, I know the difficulties and the varying degrees of, you know, student selection and decisions they have to go through. And I think this tool is really just there to build in to support that whole process because we know that, you know, college advisors, high school counselors, they're all doing a lot of hard work. But the statistics already show, like currently, the ratio for high school counselor to a student is 1 to 400, which is a large caseload to work with. And tools like this is just created just to make sure that you can triage your caseload a little more effectively and give you a little more time and a little bit less stress. Because we also understand tracking data is not always the funnest part of it, of the work that we're doing, because we want to do much more effective work where we're having conversations with students. And that's really what the advisor dashboard and just Decide Ed for students in general is to make sure we can automate all the operations that aren't the funnest thing to do, so that you can take the time to really have conversations with your students that you need to have and let you have an overview of understanding who do I need to reach out to, what students are doing okay, and which conversations do I need to have much more critically with specific students, or maybe as a school, like there's a lot of our students that are not understanding loans or don't understand how work study works. This is our tool just really incentivizing to have those conversations at the forefront, because that's how you know, not only students, but families can look much more optimistically moving forward in the landscape of education and the equity space that we're trying to bridge that gap with.
Fantastic insight. Thank you, John. All right, one question has come in. If you'd like to take this, John. So is Decided only for students, or can it be useful for parents or other adults that are trying to get online courses? So is this for the traditional first year student or other students as well?
Yeah, so Decided is for students. Parents could go on there to help support their students as well. As far as non-traditional college students or maybe a second year students, anyone can essentially use it because the tool's there to just break down what your award letter says and make it a little more concise. Some of the guides that we have there could be very relevant across that spectrum as well. Obviously, the biggest impact and value is really going to come for a high school rising senior who's trying to decide across 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, however many options they have as far as their enrollment decision. Whereas a student who may be returning to the same college, the use may look a little bit different as far as they can get their award letter, they're going to see what the money is, and they can refer back to the guides to plan for their year ahead. But most likely, they're not going to be comparing 2 or 3 offers. But it can be very useful for a transfer student who maybe applied to multiple schools and is back at that stage. Same thing for someone maybe who's returning to college and trying to look at their offers across the board. So again, I think they can be each useful in their own way, but we predominantly made it for value impact for Pell eligible first gen students who are usually being left behind or not getting the support, and sometimes are under matching or, you know, over committing to a school where they're not recognizing it's a lot of loans that's being front loaded for them.
Great, clear answer. Thank you so much for that, John. All right, folks, any other questions? John and I are happy to just keep sharing pearls, but we'd love to make sure this is worth your time. I've gone ahead and put on the screen just an example of the advisor dashboard, just to remind us what the student view is like in case this also inspires any questions.
While we're on this view, I kind of just want to re-highlight again, affordability is a major impact factor that we're trying to point out, but we also know that other factors are really relevant and important, and sometimes they can directly tie to affordability as well, which is why we're trying to highlight for students and parents, what is the graduation rate at the school for me as my ethnicity, what does that look like? Because that's really relevant if you're looking at the numbers and it's a low graduation rate and you're expecting to go to that school for 6 years to graduate versus a school that, you know, might cost you a little bit more, but the graduation rate is really high. There's like a lot of those distinct little factors that are getting left behind. That's kind of what we want to really elevate to the surface for not only the student, but the families to understand When we're talking about affordability, it's much more of a holistic approach. Like, one, are you getting your money's worth? Is diversity where you want to be at? Is it going to fulfill your career objectives? And at the same time, are you going to graduate within a certain amount of time? Because that all has an impact on the money, right? So the money is the number one thing, but we have to remember that they all kind of tie in. And that's why we're really pushing for a holistic approach to see a bigger view. So then you can make your decisions without getting trapped into only one factor, which is some students might look at it and be like, hey, this university is well known and it's very well recognized, but is it good for you is the real question that should matter.
Thank you so much for that, John. To answer one of the questions asked, is the tool free? And yes, Decided is free for students and families. And we're also partnering with organizations and schools and districts who want to use this more intentionally and deliberately with all of their students. So after we do, once we get towards the end, or actually, John, if you want to go ahead and put the link again for folks to sign up if they have more questions. You're also signed up for this webinar, so you'll get more information from us as well and follow up. But yes, the tool is free. And if you have any questions after today, we'll have additional workshops in the coming months so you can learn more about it. Another question that's come in, John, since the first 2 years of community college are free, would I need to apply during community college or only once I transfer to a university? And does going to a community college first affect my eligibility at all? Robert, I believe the first part of your question, if I'm understanding correctly, are you asking if you would use Decided during community college or once you transfer to university? You definitely have to apply to transfer. And at the time that you, so that's one piece of the question, I believe, is when might you want to use Decided either during community college or once you are applying to transfer? And does going to a community college first affect your eligibility at all? I'm thinking you mean for financial aid, Robert. So if that works for you, John? That breakdown?
Yeah, so as far as using Decided, I think this is a great tool to use when you're, after you already started community college and you're looking at transferring. So in the college application process, so you can compare and look at a holistic approach. And then again, when you're getting your award letter to decide which school you want to continue and further your education. In regards to the financial aid one, that depends on the planning that you seek to do for 4-year routes. So again, you're Pell eligible for federal grants for 6 years, but for Cal grants, it's 4 years. So depending on the finances, it may be best to see if you can get by with only using your federal loans, because that also is the transfer question that a lot of students have. It really depends how long it takes you, finish out your 2-year or 3-year, and then the timing it takes you to transfer to a 4-year, and then figuring out to balance how to effectively manage Cal grant along with your Pell grant. So I think just as a takeaway is think about the finances that's going to go into your community college and see if you can save your Cal grants for your 4-year tuition and cost of attendance, because that costs more than it would be for your community college.
Thanks for that, John. And we super appreciate the depth of the questions you're asking. We highly encourage you to keep asking us questions. I'll be the first to say I have yet to see John stumped. So feel free. One question that's come in, can you provide the link to download the tool? Robert, we're so glad that we were able to help you and answer your question. And to answer the question of downloading the tool, the link is not available yet. So we're really excited. It's going to be released next month. You've signed up for this webinar. We'll make sure that you know once it goes live. John, anything you want to add?
Yeah, again, so it won't be downloadable. You'll be able to create an account. It's a web app. But at the end, we're going to have, we're going to make sure we are putting a link where you can get notified as soon as it launches, so you can have access to it, and a QR reader, so then it could take you to that subscriber list. But again, it's not going to be anything you have to download. You'll create the account easily, and we want to make it hassle-free. So we'll share that information right towards the end.
All right, that's the end of the questions so far. Any other questions for those who are on? While you're thinking of your questions, maybe, John, we can go ahead and activate the next poll. So while you're thinking of your questions, last poll, please take a quick moment just to answer these 3 statements. You'll be asked to select strongly agree, agree, disagree, or strongly disagree for each one. So the first statement is, I have a better understanding of the workshop topic. The second is that the benefits of attending this workshop were worth the time of you joining us today. And the third one is that you plan to share what you learned at this workshop with your colleagues or family, which we hope you do. But please take a few moments to just complete that poll while you're thinking of more questions. And thank you so much to everybody with feedback coming in so far. It helps us to know if we're on topic, and where we're not, we are eager to adjust. And we do have a webinar tomorrow, so your feedback is helpful. As you're completing the poll, if for any reason, if you noted that you disagreed or you felt like this could have been a clear workshop, we'd love your feedback. So please feel free to use the chat, select all panelists or all panelists and attendees, whichever you prefer, and give us feedback. All right, we'll give it just another few seconds. We've got about 75% of you who've responded. And we're also looking, and still no additional questions. And I think I'll go ahead and we should go ahead and shut it down. So let's go ahead and end polling. Thank you, Trisha. I'm glad that the webinar was helpful. Yes, by the results so far, it looks like high percentages also agreed or strongly agreed. So I really appreciate it. And if there's anything that was particularly helpful, let us know, or that could have been more clear, let us know. But you have a few more minutes if you have any other questions. Any other, otherwise, for anyone who has no questions left and plans to jump off, before you do, please be sure to complete our survey, which I posted earlier as well. We really appreciate you letting College Week know if you were able to participate with us today. Thank you all for attending today's webinar. We hope you found this to be informative and useful. Huge thanks again to Silicon Valley Education Fund for inviting Moneythink to participate in College Week, and to San Jose CalSIP Consortium for working together to coordinate the financial aid workshops this week. Please be sure to complete that survey, and you can also sign up to learn more about Moneythink and Decided with this link. You're very welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we'll stick around for a few more minutes if anyone has any burning questions. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, John. Fantastic job.